Hello there, welcome to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. I'm Gabriel Morris and here are your top stories on Friday the 15th of August. Kent remembers 80 years on as the county falls silent to remember VJ Day.
Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
The most profitable crop? Old Romney residents share their concerns over loss of agricultural land to solar farms.
You imagine the size of Gatwick Airport and covering that with these huge solar panels and huge battery storage containers. We're really talking about proper industrialisation.
And the future of Kent's past. Local businessman teams up with the owners of historic Fort Borstal to create a new winery.
I think if people don't take them on, don't look after them and don't bring them back to life again, we'll lose them, and it will be a real shame for somewhere like Fort Borstal.
Good evening, welcome to the programme. Kent and the rest of the world fell silent today to remember the 80th anniversary since the end of the Second World War. Today is known as VJ Day, which is when World War II officially ended following Japan's surrender to Allied forces. Organisers of the services say it's important to remember the sacrifice and bravery of heroes from the past for future generations. Our community reporter Henry Luck has more.
This is The Last Post, a song used to honour the glorious dead who won our freedom, being heard once again on the eve of VJ Day. With that, Army personnel, young and old, are here to remember the end of World War II 80 years ago. This cenotaph behind me serves as the backdrop for which dozens of veterans are paying their respects tonight to victory in Japan Day.
Yes, it's obviously everyone has VE Day like we had a few months ago now, but VJ is sort of like later on and not really one of the ones to remember. But as we have the Gurkhas based in Maidstone, if it wasn't for the Gurkhas being in that campaign, we probably wouldn't be here.
A lot of people think the Second World War finished with victory in Europe. It continued until everyone came home from Japan and the far-flung places. I was lucky enough to actually know one of many people who built the bridge over the River Kwai. So it's important to me in the memory of that particular man that I knew.
My grandfather was in both First World War and Second World War, and he survived. Unfortunately, he died before I was born, so I never got to meet him. But I get to see the medals whenever I want to, so I'm very proud. So I'm very proud to be in the Sea Cadets.
As well as honouring the fallen, there was also an important message of remembering the past in light of current conflicts.
Also means, as we've heard in this service, a moment when an event took place, the dropping of the atomic bomb, that we hope never has to be used again in any situation, particularly not in conflict. A devastating way to end the war, but it ended, it was finite, and everybody and future generations need to keep being reminded of the significance of that particular event.
Night turned to day, and a special remembrance service was held outside County Hall in Maidstone.
Sadness for those who lost their lives, and relief that we have freedom, that we can actually meet today and worship together as one body, united in wanting to keep not only Britain safe and free, but peace across the nations. We remember Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and now we give thanks that there is peace in the world.
With the end of World War II nearing its 100th anniversary, there are hopes that all will remember them, now and forever. Henry Luck for KMTV in Maidstone.
And we also caught up with the MP for Tunbridge Wells earlier today.
I think today, 80 years since the end of the Second World War, is a day where we can reflect on the sacrifice of so many. And I think particularly poignant with VJ Day, the armies, both British and Commonwealth, that fought in the east, in Burma, in Malaya, as it was then, in Singapore, we often don't think about those. We think about the war in Europe more, but they sacrificed just as much, if not more, as our guys and girls in Europe. And so it's really great that we get a chance to think of them today.
And we will have more on VJ Day later in the programme, so do stay with us. All right, for now, residents of Old Romney have been walking to raise awareness over the potential loss of arable-grade farmland. They worry the proposed solar plant will impact flooding, the loss of wildlife and their scenic environment. But the developer says it's to help generate clean energy, as Daisy Page reports.
The future of farming in Old Romney may be harvesting energy rather than food on the land. With proposed developments of a new solar and energy storage park, which is said to provide enough clean energy to power around 20% of all households in Kent every year. But residents are speaking out against what they are calling solar sprawl.
Around 60 residents have been walking along the borders of farmland and the marsh to raise awareness of the solar panel plans for the land.
Hands Off Our Marsh say they are not against clean energy, with the land already home to a wind farm and solar panels, but they are concerned over the size of the industrial solar plant.
And the solar panels will be up to 5 metres high because we're in a flood zone, so depending on the solar panels they choose, but we're anticipating that they will need to be raised above the ground significantly to avoid flood risk. And the battery storage units will need to be built on concrete plinths, and they'll be housed in shipping containers that are about 4.5 metres high. So if you imagine the size of Gatwick Airport and covering that with these huge solar panels and huge battery storage containers, we're really talking about proper industrialisation of beautiful green countryside.
They worry that not only does this mean a loss of grade farmland, but their scenic walks and wildlife too.
Concern is around using prime land to put solar in an area where we have really high winds, we're on a floodplain, and we don't get a lot of sun, today being an exception, and we just don't think it's the most efficient place to do it. Put it on top of car parks, on buildings, but we just don't want it on farmland. And our other main concern living in the marsh is the drainage system that we have around here. We're really, really concerned about the impacts on our wider community from a flooding perspective.
The South Kent Energy Park is just one of 3 proposals planned for the area. But developers of the site Low Carbon say that they are carefully reviewing the survey data and the feedback they have received, adding that the changing climate poses a threat to UK agriculture and food security. They said their firm believes that their energy projects can benefit UK wildlife. Though the land's future remains uncertain, residents will continue to walk and raise awareness of their concerns about the loss of their scenic farmland. Daisy Page for KMTV.
After 6 weeks of donating, campaigning, KMFM's Tons of Tins campaign has come to an end. And this morning, the team revealed the final tonnage. In total, the final weigh-in came to 11.1 tonnes. All the tins donated have gone to help 16 food banks across the county. The campaign aims to help feed families in the summer holidays, and over the last couple of days, the team have been dropping the donations off to different food banks. The team at KMFM say thank you to the community, to those who helped donate. Now, in 2014, a travel lodge in Maidstone was dubbed the town's ugliest building by people across Kent. But with the prospect now of a makeover, we're awaiting a decision from Maidstone Borough Council. Our reporter Kristen Hawthorne went to go and speak to the public outside the hotel to see what their opinions are now. Same as it was those 10 years ago, or do they like the building now and what they think of the refurbishment? Take a look at this and make your own mind up before what you think about the building.
You've got this building behind you, it's the Travel Lodge in Maidstone. What do you think about it? People say it's the ugliest building here in Maidstone. What's your opinion?
I think if they painted it a different colour and made it look a bit brighter, because I work at Wickes and I've looked at it for quite a few years, so I think changing the colour would make a huge difference to it.
The colours are not looking great and it is a little bit of an eyesore, but I feel like it's got potential. I feel like they just need to put a bit of TLC into it.
and it can be revamped and it can look better, but yeah, I understand why it's been ranked the ugliest building.
I do think it's ugly, yeah. I mean, they were already refurbished a few years ago because they had a load of rust coming through, but don't seem to have made a good job of it, I don't think.
It is ugly. It's not in keeping with any of the other buildings. It just looks old, outdated, overpriced.
It's been painted before, but it's still ugly.
No, I don't. I think it's quite a nice looking building. It's colourful. It looks like a child's toy. It just needs to be kept clean.
If they're going to make...
Now, Kristen, you join me now in the studio. I don't think it's too bad, but what have Travelodge had to say about this?
Well, the Director of Construction and Refit at Travelodge said, subject to planning, we will begin updating the outside of the hotel in Maidstone in early 2026, and we hope to have the work completed as soon as possible.
And what will it look like?
Well, the stone at the bottom is staying the same. However, the concrete boards are going to be changed for blue and grey cladding, and the windows are going to be changed to aluminium.
And have we got a picture of what that would look like yet?
We do. We should have a picture of the planning.
So you can trust.
So you can see it's slightly different colours, which is a lot what people were complaining about, the orange and the green, but now it's going to be blue and grey. So
hospital visits will be dramatically reduced.
And there's something about time in Imagining Autism. I call it a nowhere.
I completely adapted to being a hidden away rural homeless person. The system can't and doesn't cope with rural homelessness at all.
I think that's a big barrier to young disabled people in terms of their aspirations and accessing science.
I think the Eco-Parakeet is a great symbol for what we should be doing on Mauritius, what we can do elsewhere in the world.
This is like a picture of me and my cousins when we was in Albania back to my nan's house.
Mirë, vëmë të keme me menu me menjen tonë edhe me pa momentin e dur që kur me ik edhe policisë.
The Kent Politics Show, live on KMTV. Join us every week with an array of guests.
I think the boundary changes have changed a great deal in Kent.
The Conservative administration have delivered the lowest council tax in Kent. We will continue to do that.
Discussing the things that matter most to you.
People do feel like they've been ignored by this government.
We do need something else to supplement wind and solar.
Catch the Kent Politics Show, only on KMTV.
Become a Kent Online subscriber for unlimited access to award-winning journalism from across the county. Browse the premium version of our website with no intrusive ads for uninterrupted scrolling on your desktop, mobile or tablet. Enjoy unrivaled coverage of news, sport and leisure in Kent, including content exclusive to subscribers. Read fascinating features in our in-depth section and head down memory lane by delving into our decades archive. Keep up to date with politics in Kent and Westminster and the latest on and off the field with our extensive sports coverage, including specialist Gills reporting. Enjoy weekly digital editions of all KM titles and swipe for the same page-turning experience as the newspaper. Download, share and print out the pages you want and tackle fun puzzles such as crosswords and Sudoku. Plus, unlock our extensive archive of past papers stretching back more than 10 years. Becoming a subscriber is easy. Visit kentonline.co.uk and click the subscribe tab at the top right of the screen. Choose the package that suits you with options to pay monthly or annually. Once you've signed up, check your email for a thank you message from us and details on how to get the most out of our subscription. Kent Online, news you can trust.
Welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now back to our main story tonight, as Kent and Medway have been commemorating 80 years since the end of Second World War, with councillors of all parties gathering to remember families and veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice for their county and for democracy all those years ago. Local democracy reporter Ollie Leader was at a flag-raising ceremony today in Medway.
We remember their sacrifices again and all the suffering that flowed from what they gave.
A solemn cross-party affair outside Medway Council, commemorating 80 years since the end of the Second World War in Japan. The Pacific Theatre has often been one of the more forgotten aspects of Britain's war. But for those here today, the conflict in the Far East was deeply personal.
My own family were called up in this awful extension of the war. My paternal grandfather, William Harvey Clark, served as an engineer on HMS Indefatigable, a British aircraft carrier attached to the American Fifth Fleet in the Pacific Theatre, a ship that was to bear the notoriety of being the first British carrier to be struck by kamikaze planes. I think it's impossible for us to know just what that day felt like. The relief, the joy, the bitterness, the sadness, the hope, a myriad of emotions for that most noble of generations.
And nearly a century on from one of the most devastating conflicts imaginable, the flag raised outside the council building holds additional meaning, this year in particular.
I think people do recognise, with 80 years gone since those historic moments in our lives, that this probably is one of those final opportunities for us to come together as a nation and indeed as a world to recognise the sacrifices that were made for the peace that was won. And it's important to recognise that, not least in the current situation we find ourselves in across the globe. So I want to say a huge thank you to those who made that ultimate sacrifice 80 years ago.
A rare moment of political unity brought about by remembrance. After all, for our maritime towns, this history is all too real. Ollie Leader at Gunwharf.
Yeah, celebrations right across the county today. And earlier today we had the leader of Medway Council, Vince Maple, on our sofa. He was telling me a little more about what was happening today and the importance of VJ Day. Vince, thank you for joining us today. VJ Day being celebrated right across the county. Obviously, you've been part of the Medway celebrations today. Why is it so important to commemorate that particular day?
I think across the county and indeed across the country, whether it was the pause at midday for 2 minutes, or indeed, as we saw here in Medway, a commemoration happening at the historic dockyard, as well as flag raisings there and at Gunwharf, our council headquarters. A really important opportunity in this 80th anniversary, both to reflect and remember for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, more than 30,000 who were involved in the war in that particular part of the world, but also think about those who are serving today across the planet in our armed forces. Medway's got a long and proud track record of its links to the armed forces. Many families and individuals will have links that mean it's important to them as they continue to live here in Medway. And so that's been a critical part of today. One of the other things that I'm very proud that we launched, and this has been a piece of work that's been ongoing for some time, is in joint commemoration for both VE and VJ Day. We commissioned the People's Peace Poem, and we were able to publicly show for the first time the film adaptation of that poem. Really critical piece of work. The voices of Medway residents coming together to, again, both reflect and remember, but also give thanks for those individuals who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom and democracy.
Yeah, many people often do forget about it wasn't just war in Europe during World War II. And I believe there are some people now living in Medway who did have family who were further abroad than just Europe during World War II.
That's absolutely right. And of course, understandably, often the focus is on the 8th of May, on VE Day, as we saw earlier this year, really important. But with the 80th anniversary of VJ Day, it's been important, I think, as many have recognised, for those who still are with us, this is likely to be one of the last big recognition events of the anniversary of the salt we've seen today while they're still with us. So it's really important for those families and individuals. But of course, we must keep continuing to tell the stories, to reflect, to remember, and to do all that we can collectively to try and ensure that we never see those horrors again.
Vince, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
OK, Fort Borstal in Rochester has been standing since 1895, and during the Second World War, an anti-aircraft battery was based there. But now new owners are looking to turn it into a winery. And what they say about that is that the team are hoping to give it a new lease of life whilst helping to keep the fort's historical aspects. Italy Reynolds reports.
Kent is one of the oldest counties in the UK, and as a result, naturally, there are many historical buildings still standing. And that's the case for Fort Borstal. What was once a World War II anti-aircraft battery is now being given a new lease of life. Local businessman Aaron Telford has teamed up with Fort Borstal's owners Kevin and Nikki Ward to turn it into a winery.
Behind me here is just a small snapshot of the vineyard, but plants like these span over 40 acres of land. But it's not just this that's impressive. The surrounding land also has original tunnels from the fort, and a lot of the original structures still stand at the entrance. The vineyard has the perfect blend of past and present.
Around the vineyard, a number of the fort's tunnels still remain, and the owners have been working closely with English Heritage to ensure the vineyard blends the old fort with their new modern designs and ideas.
I think if people don't take them on, don't look after them and don't bring them back to life again, we'll lose them. And it would be a real shame for somewhere like Fort Borstal, which was historic in its own right and has had a really interesting past. It was used in World War I, used in World War II. We've got lots of original drawings and information, and there is actually quite a lot of media online, but that's all that would live. The building would deteriorate and it would be a real shame to lose it. So that's our purpose, really.
Many vines planted here won't be ready for production for around another 7 years. And as well as looking into the past of the building, Aaron is also thinking about the future of the business and how everyone can enjoy both wine and history alike.
I think it'd be lovely to get people to see the winery. We can't wait to have the wines in our restaurants. I think bringing people in and having some fun on the way. So having some fun and getting customers and guests in on the fun and the quirkiness of the fort.
The business is slowly but surely creating something new, whilst ensuring history is preserved. The future of Kent's past looks bright. Italy Reynolds for KMTV in Rochester.
And Italy Reynolds joins us in the studio now. Interesting location for a vineyard, for a winery. Tell us, why did they choose this land?
So partly I was speaking to the owners and they said that they always have a love for historical buildings. They live in a historical building currently where they're living whilst they're transforming Fort Borstal into a winery. But it was more so when they teamed up with Aaron, who is quite the wine connoisseur. He's been off to France. And the land surrounding Fort Borstal actually matched some conditions from France. It had something to do with the chalkland landscape that surrounded Fort Borstal that made it perfect for planting these vineyard vines. And I did mention briefly in my package, but kind of this picture that is behind us here with the grapes, Nikki was explaining to me that these are actually some more of the mature vines because they get a lot more water, whereas the ones planted in the vineyards and across the land won't actually be ready for production for about another 7 years because they have to mature and grow to ensure that you can get the best wine.
No, interesting. So could we get champagne-style sparkling wine then from this vineyard in Kent?
They didn't mention anything about sparkling champagne, but they are looking to hopefully bring more public in. Yeah.
I know you can in other parts of the county, so I'm wondering if they got their eyes on that. But obviously, you can't call it champagne. It's a bit controversial if you did. Anyway, Italy, thank you so much for your time. OK, now for a quick look at the weather for the coming days. OK, right, tonight it is looking cloudy with temperatures around 18 degrees, 17 in Tunbridge Wells and Ashford. Going into the afternoon, warming up to highs of 19, lows of 18, some light speeds. Temperatures increasing even more into your Saturday afternoon, but cloudy weather for the most part of the county unless you're in the east, and this is your outlook for the next few days. Warming up on Sunday, staying roughly the same with some cloud cover throughout your weekend and into early next week. And finally, before we go tonight, a plane was spotted doing 360-degree loops above a part of Kent in Kingstone. Yeah, take a look at that. A small white plane was seen performing a mix of aerobatic stunts, and Canterbury City Councillor and Kent County Councillor Mike Soul captured this footage and said he was amazed to see it rising upwards before turning a full loop and heading off. Online, residents have been speculating what the plane it might be. One person said it looks like it might be a BAC jet, and others believe